Yo, what's up, everybody? This is LB here, back at y'all with another one. Shout out to my brother Ticket TV, Mahar Nate Sports Podcast, Too Raw for TV, Black Reality TV, KQKC Boxing Network, along with the other brothers in the Lions Den basketball community. Make sure y'all go subscribe to respective channels. Give the video a like, hit the subscribe, man. Let's get into the funk. So, this is one I wanted to do for a while now. And shout out to TJ's Joiner or TJ Sports. You know, um, he suggested the topic to me, and then I took it and ran with it. What's up, Brandon? Salute to my boy Brandon Nicholson in the building. So now I had a couple of days to really think about this particular topic or whatever like that. What up, OG Goat? And we're talking about the best power forwards in the 90s, right? Now, look, two individuals that jump off the bat when it comes to the best power forwards in the 90s, Karl Malone and Charles Barkley. Two guys is automatically off the page, right? Karl Malone won two MVPs in the 90s. Charles Barkley won one. Hey, Mahari. Hey, I sent you a link. What up? Shout out to my homeboy, Mahari Nate Sports Podcast. Hey, I'm going to put click. If you want to come in, click the link, brother. No, Charles Barkley won the MVP in '93. That was the year that the Phoenix Suns lost the NBA Finals to the Bulls in 6. And I really don't know how the Bulls eke that one out, man, because I mean, the Phoenix Suns was a high power offense that year. And and the way they were playing, man, I mean, shit. One would thought they would have been the odds-on favorite to win it all, but that just goes to show you how great Jordan was. Karl Malone, he was probably the best teams to not win the NBA championship. I mean, outside obvious, Golden State Warriors back in 2016, but the Utah Jazz consistently went to the playoffs in the 90s. They were a perennial playoff team. Just, for some reason couldn't get over the hump. The Bulls, Jordan factor, man, they could not get over the hump. Karl Malone's like number 2 in scoring all time. This dude played till he was like 40 years old. So man. And then we go to Shawn Kemp, the Rain Man. The Rain Man, you talk about athletic. I mean, this guy was like 6'10". Dude can jump out the fucking gym. You know what I'm saying? Dude can catch alleys. Dude can rebound. He can push the ball up the court, man. You talk about athletic players. So, it really pisses me off when, you got young guys come in and they think the guys in the 90s weren't athletic. The guys in the 90s, they were very athletic. And, yeah, he did fell off in the late 90s, though. But during his career with Seattle, Shawn Kemp's trajectory was towards the Hall of Fame. And that's no lie. What up, 89 TV? Now, this is the thing about Tim Duncan. Yeah. What up, man?
Yo, what's going on, LB?
Man, salute to you, homie. You know what I'm saying? Good to have you on board today, man. What you got on the who you think were some of the best power forwards in the 90s?
Oh man, I think to be honest, for me, I think the 90s was one of the best power forward eras in the NBA when you look at it, man. Like you had all kind of guys like Shawn Kemp, Karl Malone, Barkley. You had like guys like Dino Raja, which a lot of people probably don't remember, but he was a foreign player.
Oh yeah, I remember Dino Raja, man. He was a beast, dog.
You know what I'm saying? You had teams, even Rashad. Remember, you had Juwan Howard. Even though his
Yep.
prime wasn't that very long, he was still very good when he was at his peak. You know what I'm saying? You had him, you had Rashid, you had, I mean, just so many guys. Like the other day, I was looking, I was on Basketball Reference, and I just looked at random years in the '90s because you know a lot of these guys be talking about '90s players and stuff compared to today's players. And I just looked up, I put them in order, right? Because you can sort the rows. So I
Mm-hmm.
sorted by points per game overall, and it was like at least like 20, 23 guys that was averaging at least 20 to like 30 something points. You know what I'm saying? Just overall in the NBA. And then it was like at least 15 to 20 or 30 people averaging like between like just under 20 to like 17. You know what I'm saying? Then I looked at today and it's like 10 guys, it's like 15 dudes averaging, 20 or more, like
Mm-hmm.
legit or more. And then it's like 8 dudes averaging like between 18 and, 19 and like 17. And then it's a big ass drop off and niggas averaging like 13, 12. But if you 90, and then when you go by position, like if you go by position, right,
Right.
you have at the power forward position, you have like 5, 6 guys averaging 25. You know what I'm saying? Whereas
Damn.
today you got like one guy averaging 25, one guy averaging like 20, and then the rest of them dudes averaging like 15, 13, 14. And these are supposed to be the best guys at the power forward position today. You know what I mean? Once you get past Kristaps and Anthony Davis and maybe a couple other guys, you're really going into like average for the 90s territory. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, I don't know. Like we could pick a year right now. I could look it up on Basketball Reference, and I guarantee you, I can find more like real good fucking power forwards in that time era, especially with like Tim Duncan playing the power forward. He only went to center later, you know what I mean, as he got older.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's so many power forwards. That's why it's like when people talk about Chris Webber, I be trying to get people to realize everybody, the only 3 or 4 niggas you can name in front of Chris Webber is Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, Tim Duncan, and KG. I mean at that in the '90s, you know what I'm saying? And it's like then you're talking about Chris Webber. So if all them niggas I just named is in the Hall of Fame, and Chris Webber's the next nigga, how the fuck is he not Hall of Fame worthy? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like so, and then after him, like I said, you got Detlef Shrimps, you got all kind of dudes that during the '90s they were good. They was real good. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, man, I just don't like when people disrespect the eras, especially when you look at positions, because when you look at positions from the '90s, you could name a lot more guys that were like top tier at their position during their time than you can even now. You know what I'm saying? Right now, like I said, you go and have only 2 positions where you're gonna be able to name like 5 like superstar level players. You got small forward and point guard.
Exactly.
It's not 5 superstars, shooting guards, power forwards, or centers in the NBA.
Shout out to Craig J, 501 Shy Boy, Shy Tech, DeMonte Jones, um, Lamont Lane in the chat. FYF Sports Debates. Make sure you go subscribe to that. And no, Chris Webber is not a bum. Shut the hell up, man. cut the shit.
Matter of fact, you know what? I want you to do something, LB. I want you to give me a year. I'm gonna go to Basketball Reference. Give me a
Mm-hmm.
year in the '90s, and we're gonna see where all these guys ranked and where Chris Webber ranked.
All right,
You know
let's
how
go. Let's go 97.
1997 NBA season. Gotcha.
Yeah, let's go 97 NBA season. To me, man, I love the 97 season, man. I know the Bulls won it all that year, but man, it was man, but
It
I
was
say
great basketball being played though. Like people don't understand. Like that's just how good Jordan was, bro. He was the MVP that season again.
yeah, he
But
was.
like people got to remember, that's just how good he was because the competition was not slack. It wasn't like he was playing against nobody. Like I said, that's one of the greatest power forward eras probably ever. You know what I'm saying? when you look up and down at all the power forwards that played during that time.
I know,
And
right? But man, but you know what? But I know we talk about the '90s power forwards, but you know one can make a case for the '80s power forwards as well.
oh yeah. That's my thing. I don't, you know what I mean? You know me, bro. I don't shit on generations, bro. I look at that shit for what it is. Like those boys could play. Like if there was like a sliding scale and one side was skills and the other side was athleticism, and it was like which one do people depend more on? If you looked at the '90s, it was more about you had to be higher skilled, you know what I mean, at what you do. You
Right.
ain't putting up 28, 30 points with absolutely no skills unless you're athletically freakish. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Now
Shout
the
out to the
guys
homegirl
today,
Juanetta Thomas at the building. What's up, Queen? Salute.
now the guys today, you know what I'm saying, they can rely more on athleticism because now you really don't have to be as skilled. So the guys who are skilled today really can shine, like Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, you know what I mean? Kyrie's, those guys can really shine. And
Right.
James Harden too, you know what I'm saying? They can shine, they can use what skills they have and really only rely on part of them. They don't really have to even play their whole games to do what they do. You know what I mean? But that, back in the day, you couldn't get away. Like Charles Barkley, 6'6", you know what I'm saying, 250 pounds, couldn't get away with just relying on his athleticism and still be Charles Barkley. He had to have some skills.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Back then or today. But yeah, I got
But
it pulled up. Oh, let me go to
but you know,
position.
to me, you know, you couldn't play those, you couldn't be drafted in the NBA without skill or
No,
without some level of talent. You couldn't play.
like Derrick Jones Jr., the dude that won the dunk
Slam
contest,
dunk. Yeah.
he wouldn't even be in the NBA back in the day because he
No,
doesn't
he
have enough.
wouldn't.
He's just hella athletic. Like they
No,
were
he would
fast
not.
back then. There was fast guys back then, but they weren't skilled enough. You know what I mean? It's a difference between being fast and when the guy's giving you a ball and you have to make a bucket against other like supremely skilled dudes. Everybody can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So
What up, Abel
like
Mahari?
that's the problem with some of these guys. They don't understand that. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, what's going on, brothers? How y'all doing today? I decided to come by. Man, I decided to come by. Bless bless y'all with my presence. You know what I'm saying, and give me my 2 cents on the best power force conversation. So let's get it.
Yeah, let's go into take it away.
All right. Well, here's my viewpoints on power forwards. My interpretation on power forwards is that how do you dominate your position? What's your best skill set, and how do you influence your team in that particular position? In today's basketball, unfortunately, since the game is much more incriminated to perimeter shooting, you don't see much of the banging and the traditional style of post-up power forwards. There's only a few of them in today's basketball. But back then in the 90s and in the 80s, and then you can go back into the 70s, you can find at least 10 different power forwards that had that old school mentality of banging inside, but also using a little bit of finesse though too. And one of the greatest power forwards that I loved back in the day was Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett. Those two guys were different in terms of how they played. Garnett was more of the athletic, defensive power forward, but he had an excellent mid range and he can post you up there too, and was a very aggressive finisher. Tim Duncan, the best footwork out of any power forward, especially in his younger days when he was helping out David Robinson. Oh my goodness, the footwork that he provides you. He even put Karl Malone in the Hakeem spin move one time. I mean, all of these power forwards have different skill sets that you can revolve on too. And unfortunately, and there's a lot of different power forwards that are underrated in their own aspect. Derek Coleman, he had the power game along with the 3-point shot. Let's see, Chris Webber, versatile power forward, can handle the ball. He can post you up. He can pass, and he can also finish at the rim though too before the knee injuries. So there's a lot of different power forwards that you can all look up to. You know what I'm saying?
And another power forward that we hadn't talked about in the '90s, but he played really good was Vin Baker.
That's true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Shout out to my boy Too Raw for TV in the building. I mean, he was consistently good. Even when he I think they traded him to the Sonics or he signed on as a free agent. But either way, he went to the Seattle Supersonics and he just picked it up right there. He picked up where he left off from Milwaukee.
Yep. Actually, what happened was that Vin Baker was part of that 3-team trade deal that involved Sean Kemp going to the Cleveland Cavaliers, Terrell
Oh
Brandon
yeah, that's
going to the
right.
Milwaukee Bucks, and then
Mhm.
Vin Baker going to the Sonics. All
Yeah,
because,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna tell you this so right now, this began the breakup of the Sonics. All because they gave Jim McIlvain 7 years, $33 million instead of giving Kemp a raise in his contract.
yeah. Jim McElwain didn't deserve that fucking money.
Nah,
Hey,
man. Hell
hey,
no.
hey, Too Raw, you remember the name Jim McIlvain?
Yeah, I remember that overhyped bum. Only thing he was good for is blocking maybe two shots a game, and they hyped up his defensive ability, his dominance, and he really was much of nothing. You know what I'm saying? Really couldn't score, wasn't dominant his position. I think injuries started happening not too long, conveniently after that contract too. He was a bum.
Yeah. Hey, yo,
Hell
I got
yeah.
that 90. I got that 97 season pulled up too. I'm gonna throw out some names for y'all boys.
Yes, sir.
Sharif Abdul Rahim,
He was
18
consistently
7,
good. He was
19
just on
7.
bad teams.
Yep. Vin Baker, 21-10. Charles
Good,
Barkley,
but lack self control.
yeah. Charles Barkley, 19 and 14 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
You already know about him. Derek Coleman, 18 and 10.
Yep.
Lonzo Ellis, 22 and 7.
Now I remember LaFonso Ellis. LaFonso Ellis played his college ball at Notre Dame, and man, when he was on that Nuggets team when they upset the Sonics when they were the eighth seed.
That's right.
Yep.
And also one of my favorites, Rodney Rogers.
Rodney Rogers, my man, yo.
Yeah. See, for some reason he didn't do anything in the NBA, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I know
well,
he was a beast in goddamn Wake Forest.
Well, I mean, he the problem with Rodney Rogers is that as talented as he was, I mean, he was in bad teams where they didn't utilize his full potential. I mean, when he was in Phoenix, he won 6 Man of the Year award in 2000, but then after that, he was bouncing around the different teams. But he was always a guy that you could rely on for scoring off the bench. But he wasn't a guy that you could depend on, for starting minutes and expect you to give you 20 and 10 every night. That was not his role. His role was he was a streaky scorer and physical player, but you can't depend on him because he wasn't consistent enough.
Right.
That's
Right.
true. That's true. They got Purvis Ellison on here. Chris Gatlin with
Oh, I
19
love
and
Chris
8.
Gatlin. Oh yeah, I love Chris Gatlin. Very consistent scorer inside in the paint. He didn't expect to play starters minutes and he didn't have to because he loved playing off the bench.
Hey, look, you know what's crazy too? Like, you know how like a lot of people when they try to make an argument against the 90s, they talk about like Horace Grant being real good. Horace Grant averaged 12 and 9, right?
Yeah.
All the other dudes I named before him blew him out of the water, right? But they be acting like these guys is nobodies. That's the shit that gets me. Tom Gugliotta, 20 and 9. You know what I'm saying? Goddamn Don Kemp, 18 and 10. You know what I mean? Christian Laettner, 18 and 9. Karl Malone, 27 and 10. Danny Manning, 14 and 7. Old Danny Manning. Anthony Mason, 16 and 11 and 6.
Mm-hmm. You know what's so sad about Danny Manning was he was robbed of his prime years with those damn knee injuries.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
the way he played in Kansas, it was the Danny Manning that I remember of. You know what I mean? But the Danny Manning that was in the pros was injured far too much, and he just never got himself going. But it was amazing that he's was able to stay in the league for that long despite the knee injuries.
Hey, yo, Abel.
Yes, sir.
What you think would have happened if Danny Manning, and not just him, but those guys would have been able to get the type of training and diets that these guys get today?
Woo! They'd be way.
That would have saved the knees, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say this: the sports technology of today saved a lot of different careers today. But back then, it wasn't as advanced as it was back then. Great examples like Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway. If they were playing in our time, with all the new different procedures of how to prepare knees and different types of rehab and training, they would able to preserve their athletic ability, and even though they would still have to change and adapt their game to preserve themselves, they would have still been effective players. Particularly when it came
Penny
to
Hardaway.
explosiveness, figuring out a way to use your explosiveness, but not frequently.
Right.
Exactly.
I think especially with Penny Hardaway, like those knee surgeries that he had, like unfortunately, like he was right before they had like starting like maybe in the early 2000s, those new advances as far as surgery is concerned. And the surgery he had was very invasive, and it really like almost immediately diminished his quickness and his explosiveness. And the Orlando Magic saw that, and that's why they traded him. They saw him as damaged goods as early as 1998. He was only 26.
Yeah, 25, 26.
25, 24, 25.
He was in the middle of his prime.
Yeah.
Right.
The beginning of it, really.
And you know, the 97 season, that's the year Tim Duncan got drafted. You know, he won Rookie of the Year. And then,
notice I ain't called his name yet. Now, it's still more people I can call. That's why we trying to tell niggas like we can look at today compared to all these names I'm calling now. I ain't even called like the guys averaging like 10 and 12, except for Horace Grant.
Right.
Have y'all called Rasheed Wallace?
You know, Danny Manning won Sixth Man of the Year that year too, in 97.
In 97?
Yeah, Danny Manning won Sixth Man of the Year. And I matter of fact, before the pandemic started, I ran into him when I was down in Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? I was at what the hell, Dave and Buster's. I ran into him because you know he's head coach of the Wake Forest basketball team. That before they fired him, but you know, nevertheless, he brought the team down to Charlotte to go down to Dave and Buster's. I ran into him. I talked to him for a few minutes. Danny man, I'm telling you, man, I think he was the most valuable player when Kansas won that national championship over Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma had Stacey King on that team. And Stacey King was
Stacey King, twin brother Harvey Grant, and then Mookie Blaylock, who was a damn pest as a point guard.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, I remember that national championship game. Danny Manning, man, I'm telling you, man, God.
You see, the thing with that Kansas team was, and I did a video about this on my channel. They lost to both Kansas. They lost to Kansas State, which had Mitch Richmond. They lost to Duke when they basically had Danny Ferry as a junior that year, and then they lost to Oklahoma. They beat those three teams in concession to win the national championship.
Yep.
That shit was crazy. Danny Manning was a beast, man. He's the type of player offensively that could thrive today, man. Like the way he played.
Yep.
He could shoot. He could score. He could score from the perimeter. He had a little bit to drive, get past guys. But let me tell you about the Chris Webber. Chris Webber's 20 and 10 at this season, 20, 10 and 5.
But he a bum, right? Get the fuck out of here, Lamont. But he a bum? Okay.
Exactly. With 1.7 steals and 1.9 blocks per game. So
he can't play defense, right? Okay, the fuck out of here, Lamont.
Rasheed is 15 and 7, you know what I'm saying? With about a steal and 1 block per game. You know what I'm saying? Then you got a couple more guys still yet. And I still ain't named like the other, just like the Marcus Campbell of the world and shit like that.
How about Elton Campbell?
Elton Campbell, hold on. Let me go up.
See, I remember when Elton Campbell played his college ball at Clemson. He was on the same team as Dale Davis. And for a while, you know, they were the Twin Towers. There was their head coach at the time was Cliff Ellis.
Okay, cool.
And the year they went to the tournament, I think that was Elton Campbell's last year, if I'm not mistaken. They went to the tournament. They played UConn, and it was off a baseball pass turnaround jump shot by George Tate.
Tate George.
It was George Tate. I thought it was Tate George.
No, it's Tate George.
Tate George. I thought it was George Tate.
That's you good. You good.
Yeah. But that turnaround shot at the buzzer that beat Clemson, man.
Yep. And then the next game, that Duke did it to them when Leitner got the inbound pass, pump fake, drilled up 2 game-winning shots in his college career. Yeah,
because he did that to them, and then he turned around and did it to Kentucky.
You know what's so funny about that game was that game to me, it's one of those rare. It was one of those rare, beautiful games you rarely see in college basketball. Kentucky was just coming back off of that long, probation, and they had nothing to lose, nothing. And Duke was the #1 team in the nation, defending national champions, had everything to lose, and they almost did it twice. Remember, because Leitner stomped on Amito Timberlake, and I will say that people will say, well, you should have been ejected and all that. Well, I kind of disagree just a tiny bit because, like, listen, if the guy wasn't gonna break his ribs or nothing like that, then I mean he should not have been ejected. But I can understand where people are coming from. But I still don't understand why Rick Pitino didn't put a defender on the inbound pass when Grant Hill threw the ball through the beautiful Hail Mary to Christian Leitner down to the block. Like, save an inbound, let's put a defender on the inbound pass and make the pass harder. But they didn't do that, so it is what it is.
Hell yeah, man. But like you said though, it's a lot of today's game to me is less power forwards than, like, look at the list I just named. And them just the dudes that was averaging in the 20s. You know what I'm saying? We ain't really talk about dudes. I ain't even named people that was averaging like 18 or 15 or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
what did Jason Williams do that year?
Jason Williams?
Yeah.
Wait, power forward or the white chocolate?
The power forward.
The net center.
All right.
Was he center or power forward?
He was both a power forward and a center.
Yeah, he played both positions. Too raw.
I always consider him more of a forward, power forward. Yeah, I guess he's a center too.
Shout out to Darrell Jones in the building. What up, James? What's going on with your homie?
What's up, y'all? Salute to everybody, man. I just watch what y'all cooking on. I had to jump in this motherfucker.
So we got a question in the chat room real quick. How good do y'all think Hank Gathers could have been? Man, look, I remember I think he had a lot of potential to be really good. To be honest with you, Hank Gathers was a really good power forward at Loyola Marymount. I remember he scored that basket and he just dropped dead right there on the court, man. That thing was crazy.
Yeah, I seen that game. I was watching that game. Wow, bro. He was nice though.
Yeah, Hank Gathers was real nice.
What was his only real weakness? Like outside shooting?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
He could develop that.
He was a beast. He could rebound and score in the paint. He
Right.
could hit a little bit of a 15-footer sometimes, but he couldn't test it out any further.
Right.
Really.
Right. He would have worked on that as he got older, man. You could say he had that mentality. He would have been a great player, man. I think he would have been great.
Let me ask y'all this. What about Reggie Lewis?
He was nice.
Well, I mean, Reggie was already established himself as being, a really good player. He was peaking at that time.
Especially that season. I'm about to say that particular season.
Hey, bro, what happened to him, though? I forgot what happened to him.
He had a heart attack. He died on the court.
Yeah, heart problem.
That's the one fell out on the court. Yeah, that nigga used to ball, though.
Didn't he play for Boston?
It depends on what system you in. And that Boston system fit perfectly for him.
Yep.
I remember he gave Mike problems defensively.
Yeah, he did. Again, I can't even lie
Yeah,
about that.
he was hungry, bro. Like you could tell the people who attack the game the right way. They might not have all the athletic ability and the shooting ability, but they still can give something to the game.
Plus, he had offensively, he was still the same. He's about the same size as Scottie Pippen was. With more
that
offense.
gave people problems though, because he had that wingspan.
Hey, y'all, check this out. I got some breaking news. This ain't got nothing to do with basketball or whatever like that. So I'm gonna talk more about this on the Patreon. But there's some former Washington Redskins employees that alleging sexual assault and verbal abuse.
Whoa.
I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that in the Patreon. So make sure y'all subscribe to my Patreon, man. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be some heat.
It's going down, bro.
But back to our regularly scheduled program. Now we're talking. And James, who you think were the best '90s power forwards, man?
Hey man, it's hard, bro, because you had a lot of scores. I can't rank them right then and there, but because a lot of them don't have range because of Michael Jordan. But if you just look at what the power forwards gave to the game, playing the game right, you have a lot of them you can put up in there. Like I used to like Kevin Willis. You know what I mean? I used to like.
Oh hell yeah, I love Kevin Willis too, man. Kevin Willis consistent scorer with the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, I used to like the Davis brothers. We all know about Charles Barkley, Oakley, Sewell, in Malone, but I'm just talking about the people under them now. The top five power forwards in that class, like the Sean Kemps and the Malones and the Bunkers, you know what they was gonna bring every night because how they made an impact when they first got into the league. But then you got to look at what they did throughout their career, and I think all of them fared pretty well. Even when Sean Kemp went to the Cavs, he still was an 18-9, 18-8 guy with the weight that was on that he put on his plate. So Charles Barkley went to Phoenix, still had a stellar career. So what I'm saying is, the only thing that really made me mad, I just seen Malone ring chasing at the end with the Lakers, which I didn't feel like that was a good pickup anyway. But I feel they was
Yeah.
trying to help him get a ring. But
Right.
with that being said, Brian Grant, he a slept on player. We all know about Rasheed Wallace. But I'm saying you have a lot of power forwards that was underrated because of the other people was getting all the praise at the time. But
Kurt Thomas.
yeah, Kurt Thomas, Tim Thomas. I could keep going on and on, bro. They had bangers.
Buck Williams.
I like
Oh,
Billy
yeah.
Owens and Derek
Robinson?
Coleman. My sleeper though was Derek Coleman because I don't like how he ended his career and the trouble that he was getting himself into. Only if he could have managed his career a little bit better under the right coaching tools and the right front office before as putting him in the right place, keeping his mind together. I think he'd have fared out like a Karl Malone because to me he could stretch the floor more than Karl Malone, and he had dribble. A lot of people slept on his ball handling skills, Derek Coleman. But
Hey,
what they got
man.
on
Speaking of Derek Coleman, man, when he played at Syracuse,
yeah, they want to chip.
man, I don't think did they win championship? I don't think they won a national championship.
Then they went at Syracuse with Derek Coleman.
I don't think they did. I know they got
I'm
there
gonna
at
double
one
check
point
it.
or another, but they ain't never
Quote me
won
on
it.
it. I'm saying don't quote me on it, but I know I'm gonna double check because Derek Coleman from way back in the gap. So I'm gonna look it up. But I know they was in a big part of that NCAA run that year.
Yeah.
So they got far in the tournament because I was watching. That's how when he went to I think he was like the top 5 pick, if not number 1 at that time, because of his ball handling skills, what he can bring to the table. But when people have that alpha mentality, they whole life through college, through high school, through junior high, and park ball, it's hard to break that out of alpha when they get to a level where they're not winning no more because they feel like they
he was
still got this edge about it.
Derek Coleman was number 1 overall in the '90 draft.
Yeah, I knew it was something like that. So he that dude was well respected as far as his game. But I just figured by him being the guy that he is, a stand-up guy, not taking no bullshit, that costed him a lot years on his back end of his career.
Right.
Like something like Marbury. Marbury got game, but he not gonna take no shit, and he gonna speak his mind. So that's why Lamont always said he couldn't. Nobody ain't warn him. No, nigga can't run no bullshit on him. And everybody have a freedom of speech, but people take it the wrong way because they paying you. That don't mean because you the owner, you can't listen to your players and make the team better. Like that. That's why you drafted me number 1 because your ass was shitty. You know what I mean? So listen to the superstar players sometime. They have a lot to say about that.
Shout out to Yeti Black in the building and Real Facts TV. Salute to you, homie. So what about? Did Reggie Lewis play for the Boston Celtics?
He said, Reggie Lewis. He was a guard for the Celtics.
Okay.
Yeah, Reggie Lewis. Yeah, Reggie. He was number 7, I think.
Hey, Raw.
Yo.
Hey, Jason Williams averaged 13 and 14 rebounds that season.
Damn.
But listen, Jason Williams was more of a rebounder though.
Yeah,
that's the Jason Williams you talking about who got in that trouble?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was more of a defensive person than a rebounder. But that ain't mean he couldn't score. Because he was playing for the Nets. You had Kittles, you had Van Horn, you had Jason Kidd, you had Richard Jefferson, you had Kenyon Martin. So that team was deep, that Nets team. If it weren't for the Spurs and the Lakers, they probably would have snuck one in there.
Right. Although I think he retired. He had retired by then when they was going to the finals. I think he broke his leg in the '99 preseason, I think.
Yeah,
No,
he
but I'm
did.
just saying he was a part of that team building up to where they got to the finals. Like on that run to it, like putting the pieces together. He was one
Okay,
of
I didn't
those
talk
people.
about.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was one of those pieces that they put on that team before he got in that trouble and hurt his leg. What I'm saying.
yeah, I
He,
didn't talk
he,
about.
he, he was a double machine to me. I used to like Jason Williams because I ain't expect him to score anyway. But don't act like he couldn't if he had to. And like I said, he was a pure 10 rebound machine a game. He could get you 10 all day.
And right, like you said, he had games where he can get you 20 points and 15 rebounds. You know what I'm saying? If he had to.
That's like your boy Brian Williams, who won the chip with the Bulls, who came up missing.
Oh, Bison Daily, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
him. I liked him. Even when he was in Denver, I liked him. Did
Yeah,
he
I
play on
like
that Denver team when they upset at that number one seed and set the signings?
Oh,
right.
you talking about the year Denver beat Seattle?
Yeah, wasn't Brian Williams on that team?
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was.
yeah, he wore number 8. See, I just got to refresh my memory by me fucking with y'all at ticket. That's only gonna get me back in it, to refreshing my archives out. But I'm gonna get it together. And then by the league being so water whipped today in all sports, it's hard for me to watch it now, bro, because they babyfying a lot of these players, and they trying to make it seem like they this, but they not. But that's a story for another day, man. I tried to drop a video last night. Man, my wife stood on my phone all night trying to erase a lot of bullshit that I had on there since I had it, since I got my channel up. But now I'm up and running. I have a lot of space. So I'm about to just go crazy dropping these videos. I was trying to do one on AI in this career, but y'all gonna see it today, promise, on everything. That AI coming up today. I got his career stats, field goal percentage. To say he's 6 feet, that ball was a TNT dynamite, bro. Especially in the league coming up around that time when it was physicality still in the game.
Hey, LB, you mind if I ask this question before we continue?
Go ahead.
All right. I have been taking a lot of heat from from my basketball buddies outside of YouTube, and obviously with Ticket and the brother LVZ about the whole Vince Carter Hall of Fame discussion. I have been on my stance saying that Vince Carter to me is not a Hall of Famer because he underachieved in his career, and people are saying like, "Oh, y'all be crazy, man. Why are you thinking Vince Carter? He did a lot for Toronto." I get it, bro, but listen. I get that he was. Listen, if he retired with those 25 point per game averages when he was in Toronto, I wouldn't complain about it. But the man played far. But the man played 20 more seasons, and his numbers declined after that. So what? How are you gonna make this discussion? I mean, he's borderline, but to me, I think he falls short. But the one thing that could help him in this case is that his cousin got into the Hall of Fame on his first ballot. So I mean, if Tracy got in on the first ballot, why not Vince? I don't know. I'm just going off
Well,
of the tangent.
Howard, can I ask you this though? All right,
Sure.
if you're going about his per game numbers, right?
Right.
Robert Parrish, I mean, outside the 3 championships he won with the Boston Celtics, his career averages are not that impressive.
True.
Like, because I mean, like when he was with Boston, it wasn't a one man show, so everybody was sharing the ball. Everybody was pretty much sharing the rock, even though what I'm saying,
Right.
Bird was the leading scorer, but Parrish would give you like what 17, 18, maybe 10 rebounds, 11 rebounds. All right, but if you look at his career numbers, it's like 14 points and 8 rebounds.
Right.
That's not exactly
Yeah, it's not exactly
popping.
dominant numbers,
But,
No,
right, but but I understand a lot of it's because he played a long time. So all these years where he was journeyman, with the Hornets, and then the last year with the Bulls, and then even some of the last years with the Celtics, he was past his prime. It kind of cut into his numbers.
right?
So I mean, I know what you're saying. To me, Vince is kind of borderline, but I mean, it's hard for me not to put in a guy in the Hall of Fame who is probably the best player in that franchise history still.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, if you take into account what he did in North Carolina,
yeah,
you take into account
I
what he
know
did in
how
North
he's
Carolina.
talking about though. He's underwhelming.
Well, yeah,
because
the career has lots to be desired. Don't get me wrong.
Right. Right,
You
like
know,
because I remember when he was drafted and the comparisons to Jordan and how he was going to be the face of the league. So I know what Mahari's talking about. And you look at the finished product and it's like no,
disappointing.
yeah, it's like he only like maybe 60% completed what he could have been. I know where Mahari's coming from.
Right. I'm not
Right.
saying that he wasn't a bad player, but a lot of people have been kind of just like shooting at me like, man, you disrespecting, man. Why you disrespecting him, man? Bro, he did a lot for Toronto. I said, listen, stop getting in your feelings when it comes to this talk. All right. Listen, I get what Vince Carter was doing in Toronto. He listen, without Vince, there would be no Toronto Raptors where they are. All right. That's a clear cut fact, and I will never dispute that. But I'm saying is look at his averages after he left Toronto, and then it started to dip when he was in New Jersey, and then throughout his various stops around the league. I mean, it does hurt
Hey,
his case a lot.
but April,
Yes,
April, one thing you gotta look at. I'm looking at his Jones right now. He got 11 seasons where he averaged at least 20.
right.
And then, yeah, it started to drop, but you got to also think about a couple of years he got hurt. Like, you know what I'm saying? And the way he got hurt affected his game.
True.
Plus, another part of being in the Hall of Fame is not just like how much championships you won, or even if you underachieved compared to what people might have expected from you overall. Part of it is the amount of fame you garnered while you were in the league. You know what I mean? That's part of the reason why it's the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? Like Vince being the high flyer he was, he brought a level of athleticism to the game that brought a lot of fame to him and to the NBA. When he jumped over Buddy in the Olympics, you know what I'm saying? All that stuff is going to play a factor. And the fact that he played so long, even though he was just playing garbage minutes on some of these teams and he's just being like a mentor and shit, though that's all going to still factor in to whether he's a Hall of Famer. And you're really not going to talk about like early 2000s, the mid 2000s basketball without mentioning Vince Carter. So for that reason alone, he's going to be I believe he should be a Hall of Famer either way. You know what I mean? Like if
And
he would have
Shaka,
retired after 2009, you know what I'm saying? He'd have been a Hall of Famer regardless.
So
Shaka
Mahari, let me
previous
ask you
tweet
this.
made in the chat
I'm
room.
with you on that, Assault.
Right.
Hey,
Hey,
Mahari, let me ask
Hey, save. Hey, we won't get too
Appreciate it.
much into Vince Carter because I got a topic tomorrow about best end-game dunkers in NBA history
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
tomorrow.
Can I hear what Turo's got to say? Go ahead, Turo.
I just want to add one thing. Do you think that he should probably like be like wait a year? You think it's that if he's like in a class where there's a lot of other competition, he should have to like wait a year like Reggie Miller?
Kind of like that, because right now I could name you 2 or 3 other names right now that should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. One of those guys is Chris Webber and Tim Hardaway. They should have been in a long time ago. I mean,
Right.
listen.
Yeah.
If you're gonna put Vince in, why not put Tim Hardaway in and Chris Webber in? Because those guys had greater success in the postseason than what Vince Carter ever did. Even though he
Yeah,
made
but
one conference final.
He played
I mean,
only
you're right
one.
about that.
Vince Carter played one conference finals.
Yeah,
You're
one.
right about that. You're right about that. But the thing is, the difference is Tim Hardaway is not in there because of a comment he made.
Yeah, I know.
And he's being real. And Chris Webber is not in there because of the politics of this motherfucking whole shit. We all know they should be in there regardless. But Vince, I don't think he's gonna have to wait a year because
he wouldn't.
He revolutionized you know what I'm saying, basketball for that time period. You gotta think about it. When Michael Jordan left, right? And it was guys like Tracy McGrady, Kobe, Vince Carter. Those were the guards that was carrying the mantle. Now, to a degree, Vince Carter, yeah, he didn't really perform in the playoffs at times when he's supposed to. But at the same time, it's like when you look at it, you couldn't name the best 3 shooting guards in the league without Vince Carter's name being in there for a long period of time. You know what I mean? And as he got older, this is the thing that they're going to look at too. As Vince Carter declined athletically, he got better at shooting jump shots, better at shooting threes. You know what I'm saying? And he basically reinvented his career to these people. You know what I mean? In the eyes
And
of
that extended his career too.
Yeah, he extended his career by doing that also. Plus, they still see Vince doing crazy dunks in the layup line. So he's going to walk into the Hall of Fame just off of the fact that he was able to still be able to play at that level, or be able to do that athletically, and for the run that he had. You know what I mean? A lot of people who underperformed are in the are in the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? Like we can reel off names like Chris Mullin. We can reel off all kind of people who deserve to be in there. I think Chris Mullin deserves to be there. But
I thought
if
Chris
you look
Mullin's
at,
already a Hall of Famer.
yeah, he is. I'm saying that's my whole point. Like people like Chris Mullin are in there, and he didn't get championships, and he didn't perform the greatest in the playoffs. You feel what I'm saying? And he deserves to be there in my eyes. And just like Vince Carter, I feel deserves to be there for the same reasons.
Mahari.
You know?
Yes, sir.
One last thing. Let me ask you this. Aside from the scandal with the other guy, great name, would you compare a little bit Vince with the hype Jose Canseco got at first when he started establishing himself in Oakland and what he finished with?
Ooh, you know what? That's a really good comparison. I think what Canseco was that we saw what he was capable of doing, but unfortunately he did not live up to his lofty expectations. And plus he had help with the steroids. With Vince, I don't think that applies because he didn't have to do any of that. So I think that if we're going on a tangent, I think Vince will get in. I just think that he doesn't. I think that he'll get in eventually, but I think as a first ballot Hall of Famer is where I draw the line. Like, really, is he really a first ballot Hall of Famer? I just don't see it. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Listen. I'm not saying he was a trash player. I will never say that. I'm saying, like, guys, listen. Look at the totality of his entire career. Stop looking at it from what he was back in Toronto. People get blindsided to what he was able to do. Yes.
But Abel, you gotta check it out like this. Think about it like this.
Okay.
Let's say Tim Duncan was never drafted by the Spurs, right? He went to like the Hornets, but he put up the same numbers, right? And made the Hornets relevant, right? Mm-hmm. Did the same exact thing like this, like Vince Carter, right? Early in his career. Then, just like his real career, that shit drops all the way off. Tim Duncan went from 25, 24, and 12 to like 13 and 6. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. For a long stretch of his career. But nobody by that point didn't think he was already going to be a Hall of Famer if he didn't have a ring. You see what I'm saying? Vince Carter is similar in a lot of ways, bro. Plus, when you think about the era that Vince Carter was playing in, Vince Carter was a prominent piece of that era. You know what I mean? A lot of players, like I just said, it's going to be a lot of players in the Hall of Fame. If we look at the whole list of players, of all the guys inducted, everybody wasn't Jordan-level champions. You know what I'm saying? Some of these dudes ain't been champions at all. There's some dudes that been in the NBA, and they was only an all-star like 3 or 4 times.
Right.
They in the Hall of Fame. And I'm not even talking about from way back in the day. I'm talking about like the current, you know what I'm saying? Guys going in the last 20, 30 years. You know what I mean? They ain't been all NBA but like 3 times, 2 times. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And Vince Carter has been able to do that, in the prime of his career. He didn't take advantage of it by winning, but some of that shit has to do with like him, falling short, him not coming through and not stepping up. But we've seen superstar niggas, I ain't gonna name niggas, we've seen superstars of today who have not stepped up in big moments, and everybody know they're gonna walk in, they're gonna moonwalk into the Hall of Fame. So I can't hold one guy accountable for one thing and then not hold the other guys accountable for the same shit. You know what I'm saying? Hey. If I'm let it go with this guy, then I gotta let it go with that guy too. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I understand. I get
it. This my exception on Vince Carter. If a person come in the league and change the game the way he did, just that
hold
alone.
up a second. Hold up Hey, GMJ 2121, what you got on this, man? Who you think are some of the best power forwards in the 90s?
Man, thank you, man. Man, I'm gonna tell y'all this, man. I'm gonna try to be patient and stop trying to say the wrong things. I'm gonna tell you this. You had your Oakleys, your Anthony Masons. In the 90s, you had your Otis Thorpes, underrated. What's it called? Power forwards. I'm gonna tell you that. Yeah. But when it came to the late 90s, you had your Tim Duncans and David Robinsons and all that. But David Robinson was a power forward though. But the worst one I can think of the 90s, Well, I'm gonna go back to the '80s. I'm gonna tell you this: why the world they play Ralph Sampson at the power forward and Hakeem Olajuwon at the center? But I'm gonna tell you that, bro. I'm gonna tell you that. But the power forward side, I think of Chris Webber to the Jawan Howards and all them. You know, that's all I can say is, man, the power forwards was doing their thing. You know what I'm saying? When it came to backing up the centers like Ewing, Robinson, Olajuwon. You feel what I'm saying? Feel what I'm saying? Can
Yeah,
you
you're
hear me?
loud as fuck in the background too.
Yeah, man. You need to turn the
I'm
TV
sorry.
down.
Shout out to Stephen Brown in the chat room. Now what you got on this, James? What you was about to say?
I'm gonna say this, man. The power forwards in the '90s were the best power forwards since the power forwards
No,
thousands.
I was
You
saying
feel
if you
me?
look at Vince Carter and his whole career, what he did to change the game for the dunk contest, how he flew through the air, then people underrated his shot a lot. But to me, as you can see over the years, he became that deadly 3-point shooter. He hit a couple of game winners from learning from that miss against Allen Iverson when they both scored 50 apiece damn near going back and forth. So with that being said, the competition the competition level was so high. So when you still have Jordan, Kobe, Allen Iverson, Ray Allen's still out there giving buckets at shooting guard, they looking at Vince because he could fly. He changed the game in that aspect. But if you look at his whole career in Toronto, they wasn't missing a beat. They stayed in the playoffs. So over the years, when he got traded to other teams, even though his athletic ability was leaving, like I said, he developed a shot. So his shot kept him in a career. His IQ of the game, his wisdom, the love of the game, him keeping his body in shape. Dog, this man played 20 years. So his first
Mm-hmm.
10, if you look at his first 10, that's Hall of Fame numbers. If you play 20 years, your back end gonna always decline. But if you look at when he was in the game, he still gave something to him. Like I said, he hit a couple of game winners for Dallas. He hit a few in Atlanta. Like he still had it, but it wasn't his role to play that many minutes at the end of his career. They needed him for that veteran leadership and to keep the guys, as far as the young players, in tune. You know what I mean? So that's what he was good for. I ain't gonna call him no enforcer. I just like his all around attitude towards how he ended his career, the way it went. Because even when he did that slam dunk contest, they wanted him to defend the crown. But Vince said, as long as I did it, I got more goals to compete with, and I'm trying to win a championship. I'm trying to get my team in the playoffs. So that's what his goals is more focused on, and I like that. You know, LeBron never did a fucking slam dunk contest, but at the end of the day, you got people coming out here doing things for the game, changing the game in so many aspect ways. Vince Sanity, man, the name says it all. Then they want to try to give it to Jeremy Lin, like he Lin Sanity. He only had 20 good games. So that's what I'm saying. You gave his name to a whole nother dude, and he only lasted 20 games doing it. When this man gave you a solid 10 career, 20 points or better, 18, 19 solid. And then he wasn't really no alpha for us to score, like no shooter. He just was getting that shit off athletic abilities.
Well, let me tell you this.
Hold on. I don't want to get this. I don't want to get too far off track with this Vince Carter topic. We got more. We can talk about this a lot more tomorrow. Vince Carter, the best in. I got a chat. I got a whole nother video tomorrow about that.
But I'm gonna tell you this, James. You think his Vince Carter's career
Hey, bro,
is
what did I
better
just
than?
say? I said we're gonna talk about that tomorrow. I got a whole nother video about that, man. God damn.
Hey, LB,
Yeah.
LB, let me ask you this though. What are your thoughts on Sean Kemp as a Hall of Famer? Don't you think he deserves to be in there? Do you think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame?
No, unfortunately, no, because he did.
See,
Because
I don't want to see. That's
Go
a
ahead,
hard.
go ahead.
That's
Go ahead,
gonna be a
LB.
no for me, man.
Yeah, I'll say it very clearly. No, because unfortunately he didn't have enough prime years to really solidify his case as a Hall of Famer. And plus, you have to also consider the fact that when he got traded to Cleveland during '99, he weighed at least 310 pounds, and then also he had also personal issues going on in his life that really affected his play. That's why he basically retired at around 32, 33. I
Yeah,
mean,
but listen though, I feel you on that, but at the same time, it's like I can't hold you can't hold somebody having personal issues. You know what I'm saying? We got people having personal issues right now in the league. You know what I'm saying? They just now starting to address mental health in the NBA with Kevin Love and all these other dudes who were talking about their problems. And that's the only in the last.
DeRozan's another guy.
Listen, I'm gonna say this: those last 3 years you talking about, those are the only years he didn't produce. In his rookie year, he averaged 6.5, and in the last 3 years, he had 6.5, 6, and 6.8. Those are the only 3 years of his whole career he didn't produce at a high level. Like the only three. You know what I mean? So I just can't. For me, it's like I can see people see like he's a borderline, but I feel like he should be in the conversation, bro. I can go back to any other era, even today, even the guys that's been in that's gotten there with him. And it, just like I was just with LB, I was just showing the stats from a particular season. We can go to any season, and that nigga Sean Kemp is in the top 3, 4 niggas in the league at doing what he do for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, everybody, this is my thing. Everybody in the Hall of Fame, if we looked at all of the people in there and we had looked at everybody who had a ring, especially the guys who were the 1 or 2 person, the number 1 or 2 option on the team, a lot of the guys in the Hall of Fame don't have no damn rings. I'm telling y'all. And he went against Michael Jordan. If that Supersonics team would have went against the second best Eastern Conference team behind us, they would have probably won.
See, this is my thing about rings or whatever like that, right? To me, it's a tiebreaker or whatever when it comes to rings. I'm not, when we talk about somebody being a Hall of Famer, man, we're looking at the all around game. You know what I'm saying? The rings are just the icing on the cake or whatever like that, in my opinion. Because to your point, there's a lot of Hall of Famers that got denied rings because of the Jordan factor. So I don't even try to look at rings when whether or not a player should be in the hall or out the hall or whatever like that, you know what I'm saying? Because if that was the case, there should be a lot of people not in the Hall of Fame right now.
That's what I'm saying. But listen, but what I'm also saying is people got to factor in the Jordan effect to like, we wouldn't even have a conversation about half of these dudes that we call them borderline guys or guys if Jordan hadn't been there doing what he did. If he hadn't been locking out a lot of these dudes, like Reggie Miller wouldn't have to have set out the first season or first year on the ballot if Jordan was not in the league, because he would have been able to win, bro. I'm telling you. Like, we all know this. And if he had those championships, like, for instance, if Jordan was 2 for 6, Reggie had 1, you know what I mean, or 2, and, Sean Kemp them beat him, and then Carmelo that beat him one time or something like that, we'd be looking at that shit a whole different way. We wouldn't even be asking if these guys are Hall of Famers, because we say, well, damn, they beat Michael fucking Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Jordan only got 2 out of that bitch. God damn. You know what I mean? But the cards didn't fall that way because Jordan was so fucking great. It's not that many niggas wasn't great. Jordan was just the greatest. You know what I'm saying? I ain't even saying that shit to be on his coattails or nothing, but I'm saying, like, you got to look at it. A dude averaged 40 points per game in 7 different series because his team was not able to fucking score the other 40 points, consistently with him. You feel what I'm saying? We was averaging 80, 90, 100 one time, but if you think about it, this man he had to score like 45% of our points just for us to fucking win in those championships, in those series. That's not easy. And that means your teammates ain't giving you but so damn much. So that means he was that great, you know what I mean, to overcome that too. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean Sean Kemp and Gary Payton, we know Gary Payton's a Hall of Fame, but doesn't mean Sean Kemp wasn't also Hall of Fame level, right? They just couldn't overcome that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's just how I be seeing it. I look at it, man.
I agree with that. I agree that Sean Kemp played at a Hall of Fame level for several years, but I don't know if when I look at his career and his accomplishments, that it just screams Hall of Fame. I don't know.
Yeah, see, that's the
To
part.
me, he misses. He just misses the mark.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, but it depends. It depends on some people. Some people have a higher standard than others when it comes to Hall of Fame. Like I know a dude. He thinks only top 25 players should be in the Hall of Fame. Like he thinks a lot of these guys shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. I'm not that stringent, but I don't think Bill Bradley's a Hall of Famer.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying?
No, me either. Hey, but T-Raw, let me ask you this. When we're talking about like I said earlier, I believe this era we're talking about, the 90s era, is probably, other than like past maybe like the 80s or something like that, the greatest era of power forwards we ever had. You know what I'm saying? So when Sean Kemp, like I said before, if all the niggas you can name in that era that's right above Sean Kemp are Hall of Fame niggas, how is Sean Kemp not a Hall of Fame dude? Like he can't. It's almost like this. This is what I'm saying. You can't get All NBA first team if you're after the fourth dude. You know what I'm saying? You could be top 5 and only 3 of them niggas are going to even get NBA All NBA credits. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean the 4th and 5th dude is trash. They just
I understand what you're saying, but it's like with Penny Hardaway. Like Penny was arguably. I mean, I gotta think before I say this, but in 96, 97, arguably the best point guard in the league at that time.
Well, I got that right here. We can look it up. I know he was one of them, if not the best. He should. I think he was the best.
Maybe 96, 97 for a little brief period of time, he was the best point guard in the league. Some people thought he was going to be like the heir apparent, but his career fell apart due to injury. But I mean, to me, it's like, okay, Sean Kemp's not that extreme, but he peaked too early. Like he peaked around 96 when he was 27. I don't know.
To be fair, he is a 6-time All-Star, and he does have 3 All NBA second team to his credit or whatever like that. I don't know if they, he didn't go to college, so I don't know if they weighed, his high school accomplishments or whatever like that. He was a McDonald's All-American.
That man got in the league from a junior college, bro. From playing 1 year at a junior college. He was averaging like 35 out there. You know what I mean? But it's also the system that they played in. George Karl didn't play where it was just Gary Payton and Sean Kemp trying to score the points. It was Sean Kemp, Detlef Schrempf, Sam Perkins. They had who else? They had a couple other dudes. You know what I'm saying? Hershey Hawkins.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Sam Perkins, man, that's a dude we hadn't talked about during this stream, man. And Sam Perkins was way underrated as a. I remember when he played his ball at he played for the Dallas Mavericks at one point.
Yep.
That's who he was drafted by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I love me some Sam Perkins, man. He played his college ball in North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. And
stretch bigs.
He was fit in this era too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a stretch big. He cooked today.
Yeah, he played some power forward, and then he played some center.
Like a lot of these bigs, these big, center slash. He shot like, I know he had some seasons shooting like 40% from 3.
Right.
Yeah, he did. He did, man. Like shit. You trying to look up.
Oh, you said it, Darrell? Okay, I didn't see it in the chat room, man. I had tunnel vision, so I didn't see you saying that. But yeah, man, Sam Perkins definitely a guy I liked. In the 90s or whatever like that with those Sonics teams.
What about some of the 80s holdovers that were still playing in the 90s, like James Worthy and Kevin McHale?
But those guys started phasing out like in the early 90s, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to me, those guys were more 80s players than 90s players.
Yeah, that's true.
We didn't get to see the best of them by the 90s. You know what I'm saying? That's why I be saying about a lot of these guys like today. Like it's like they saw like Charles Barkley on his last legs type shit. Jordan with the Wizards. They seem like they didn't really see a lot of the guys we talking about, even these power forwards that we talking about when they was in their prime. You know what I mean? A lot of the guys saw Sean Kemp and really, when they was actually able to really understand basketball at that level and what was going on for real. They saw him when he was in Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? So they were like, oh, this nigga ain't nothing. You know what I mean? So a lot of times when I look at these players, I try to look at them from the lens of not like you can't look at certain players last few years because they like Kobe. When Kobe got that injury and he popped his Achilles, bro, I already knew because the advancements in technology ain't like they were today. I already knew Kobe wasn't gonna be able to come back and be the type player he was before. There are some people that hold that shit against him. Them last 3 seasons, those are the worst 3 shooting seasons of his whole career. We all know why. He knew he wasn't gonna be championship level Kobe no more, and he knew he had all these young dudes, and he knew he plays in LA, so he got to put on a show, so he's gonna have to put up shots. Like I'm not holding that against him. You know what I mean? Now, if Kobe played today, like Kevin Durant got to take a whole year off and some change to fully recuperate, then I'm sure the standard for him would have been way higher. You know what I'm saying? But I also guarantee his percentages would have been way better. You feel me? So I just look at it like I try to keep things in context with these guys.
The thing about Kobe though is at that time he was already what 34.
Yeah, but he was in the 17th season, but he was averaging 27.
18. Right. So I mean, but he played at a high level. He'd been playing at a high level for at least. I know before when he started, he was behind Eddie Jones and some guys like that. But since '99, he was playing for a high level for 13, 14 seasons. I mean, you can't ask for more than that. The thing about Shawn Kemp is like I'm not saying he's not. It's not a ridiculous concept, but his career, even when you take away Cleveland and Orlando, it just to me it doesn't scream Hall of Fame. It's like I don't know. It's like he's borderline to me. He's borderline. I'm not saying he's not Hall of Fame caliber, but it's borderline. There was no one year where I thought Shawn Kemp was like a top 2 power forward. Maybe in '96. Maybe in '96 I would give him a top 2 power forward ranking, but I've always thought like as far as the best power forwards, it was always Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, and they were the clear 2 best. And then like other, under them it was these other tier. I don't know.
I get you. But you know what? I'm not saying that Shawn Kemp is a walk-in he should have been in or nothing like that. I'm just saying like I feel like eventually down the line, one day in the future or something, he probably just get in just because of the fact that he was one of the first super athletic power forwards. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Now he should have worked on other parts of the game.
When did Shawn Kemp retire?
He
was it 2003?
2003. Yeah.
You think? All right. So when was his first year eligibility in the Hall?
What would that have been? 2009?
2006?
Yeah.
Well, back then, wait 5 years.
Yeah.
I thought it was
2008. 2008 would have been the first ballot year.
Okay, so I looked at this. I tried to look this up the other day, but I couldn't find it. I'm trying to see if they had a limit to how many times they can be eligible.
And I don't know.
Hey, Abel, you still in the building?
Yes, sir. I'm still here.
Hey, you know what you know about the Hall of Fame process? You know how many times a person can get eligible?
That's a good question about that. I think maybe at least 10 times. I think let me research that real quick. I mean, the only thing I know of about the Pro Football Hall of Fame is that you at least you at least have to have like 10, not 10 chances before they put you down as the Veterans Committee selection, and the same thing applies in baseball too. But let me check that out real quick.
Yeah, because I thought I saw 10, but I wasn't like completely sure.
I know in baseball you have to meet a certain percentage criteria to a voter.
Yeah, it has to be 75%.
Yep,
75%, and
Well, yeah, to be inducted, but to stay on the ballot, I think you have to.
Yeah. I know. Oh, okay, I get what you're saying too, Raw. I forgot that number.
Oh, and it's only 3 years after you finish playing. I'm looking at
Okay.
the eligibility right now.
Okay, I'm reading this right now. It says to be considered for induction by a screening committee, a player, retired coach, or referee must be fully retired from that role for at least 3 full seasons. The waiting period it had originally been 5 years, but it was later changed to 4 years in December of 2015 and to 3 seasons in December of 2017. Prior to the induction of the class of 2018, referees have been eligible for induction after 25 years of full service, even if still inactive. Changes to the criteria for consideration of active coaches were also announced as part of the 2017 changes. Currently, coaches have become eligible for about 25 years of full-time service at the high school level or above, or 3 seasons after retirement. So there you go. So I will say that I think at least 5 seasons before I guess they will go down to a veterans committee. I think.
Oh, okay. Hold on. It says if a nominee receives 0 affirmative votes for 3 consecutive years, that nominee's candidacy is suspended for 5 years, after which time he or she may again be reviewed by the appropriate screening committee. There's no limitation on the number of years a nominee can be considered for enshrinement by a screening committee, provided that the nominee receives at least 1 affirmative vote any given 3-year period.
Mm-hmm. But there's
no limit.
Yeah, there's no limit too, because
you gotta wait.
Yep, and the big difference is, unlike football and baseball, is sports writers and commentators are alleged as full-time members, in contrast to the baseball Hall of Fame that has separate wings from its real Hall of Fame committees. So therefore, there's basically specific writers and sports commentators that work for the Hall of Fame, but are not outside of the Hall of Fame. Unlike the Baseball Writers Association of America, because remember, I already told Rob about this. I met with Lavelle E. Neal III when I was in college, when it came down to the Barry Bonds conversation. And I asked him about, what the hell is going on with this holdup about Barry Bonds? He flat out told me with a straight face, there's writers in the industry that still resent him for the way they treated him when he was.
I fucking knew it. Fucking knew it.
Yep. Lavelle E. Neal III told me straight to my face and said, listen, I voted for Barry Bonds. I know 60% of the writers voted for Barry Bonds, but the problem is that a lot of the writers that covered for Barry when he was in Pittsburgh and San Francisco, they still hold resentment against him for the way Bonds treated the media during his time playing in baseball.
Yeah, see, I fucking knew it.
And time is starting to run out for Barry too, because how many years he has left? 3 years of eligibility?
2 or 3 more years.
2 or 3 more years until the Veterans Committee can decide on that.
Now he has been inching up.
I
think the last ballot, he and Roger Clemens were at 61%. So they're getting closer, but they need a 75% threshold, which, to be honest with you, they both should be close to 100% any goddamn way, even if you take steroids. But yeah, it's ridiculous. That's why I don't take their Hall of Fame serious. They don't have 3 of their best players in: Pete Rose, Roger Clemens, and Barry Bonds.
Right, exactly. And I would say
this best fighter, JCV. I see you in the building. Also, I saw Decepticon in here. Shout out to you as well.
You know what? And the other thing too is that Edgar Martinez was not voted for the Hall of Fame for at least 9 years. And they were holding him under this criteria because he was just because of designated hitter. He didn't play on the field. So what? He made clutch hits in Seattle, including the most memorable hit with the double that sent Ken Griffey home from first base. All right. The guy was a clear Hall of Famer, and he was waiting, and they basically pushed him out for 9 years. I don't agree with Walt Parker a lot, but I do agree with him on this. The Baseball Hall of Fame has now become a sympathy Hall of Fame, where they're now holding guys up until years after their eligibility is almost up, and then they put them in.
Yeah, man. After they did that to Barry, I don't even follow baseball like that no more, man.
Me neither.
Them just made me feel like, man, forget that shit, man. Because they popped up Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire when they knew them boys was popping pills too. You know what I'm saying? Just like a guy like Ken Griffey Jr. To me, I like Barry Bonds too. Barry Bonds is probably the greatest. He's gonna be, to me, considered the greatest of all time. But I feel like Ken Griffey would have been that without no steroids. Even though Barry only used them shit the last couple of years or whatever, but Ken Griffey without injury, he would have been that anyway.
Ken Griffey got in first ballot.
First ballot. And only a few writers didn't vote for him into the Hall of Fame. He should have been undisputed.
He should have been unanimous.
Exactly. What they thinking about?
Mm-hmm.
But see, that just goes to show you, man. You know what I'm saying? That just goes to show you that, you know, these writers or whatever like that, you know what I'm saying? They got, you know, if they got bias towards a player, they got bias against a player. If they want you in, they'll find a way to keep you. They'll find a way to get you in. If they want to keep you out, they'll find a way to keep you out.
But that's because it's become the media instead of journalism. It's no real journalism no more from like the mainstream, of course. But like think about it like this, like in the 90s and the 80s, 70s, those journalists, bro, some of them boys really, like might have hated, you know, these black athletes for what they was doing, but still would vote for them. Still would, you know what I'm saying, be objective about what they were seeing on the court from them. You know what I'm saying? Like it's undeniable what you're seeing from these players when they're doing what they're doing. So it's like some of them is like, okay, it should be no problem for him to be a unanimous Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Like Kobe, you know what I'm saying? Or like Karl Malone, even though Karl Malone didn't win any championships, he had 2 MVPs, he had all those first teams, all those all-star appearances. You know what I mean? Like if Karl Malone would have had a few championships within his run, you know what I mean? Then we could be like, yo, he's the best, or it's at least more of an argument. Right now, Tim Duncan got that spot. You know what I mean? It's not really even an argument, even though you can look at their careers and say Karl Malone had the better individual statistically career. You know what I'm saying?
Speaking of NBA Hall of Fame or whatever like that, you really don't know who's in the voting process for those individuals or whatever like that. Now, as far as like MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and all those type of awards, whatever like that, that's public information on NBA.com. You know what I'm saying? You can go in and see, you know, who voted for who. But as far as like the Hall of Fame process, I know they got like 24 people, and 18 of them got to vote for you to be considered a Hall of Famer. But as far as like who has the vote for Hall of Fame, whatever, that's like tight lip. I mean, you don't hear nothing about it.
There's a committee, you know what I mean? They ain't gonna tell you who that committee consists of.
Yeah, the committee's real tight lip. But what y'all think about Larry Johnson? Y'all think he won the best power forwards in the 90s? Grandmama?
I think for a short period. I think his run was shorter than Sean Kemp's. When you look at it.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was too short because after he injured his back in '94, he was never the same explosive power forward that he once was, and he had to develop more of an outside shot and a better post-up game to try to live, you know, in the NBA for that long. I mean, that just goes to a testament of how good he was. But unfortunately, he retired at age 31, 32?
31.
31 because of back injuries. Yeah, 31 because of back injuries.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was during the preseason of 2001-2002 season.
He's playing with the Knicks then, right?
Yeah, when he was with the Knicks.
Yeah.
Right.
He was no longer the same player after that. You know what I mean? The back injuries, and then his production began to dip down significantly. I mean, it just pretty much was downhill from there. That's why
LJ was so hurt he had the back brace outside the jersey.
Oh yeah, I've seen that before. There was LB. You ever seen that? You ever seen the Knicks and Heat Victor Game 5 of '99? You could see Larry Johnson's back brace visibly around his jersey.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's when he was making the L. He was out there making the L when he threes and shit. He had the back brace out the jersey. He was so hurt. Like,
oh yeah. And I remember that Bill Walton basically saying, like, why is this show? This is a disgrace to the game of basketball. Why are you showing the L sign over here? Please put the L sign down. Man, Bill Walton used to drive me crazy.
Yeah, Bill Walton, he was just all extra with it.
Oh, yeah, he was. Oh, yeah, he was. My favorite trio who was hilarious was Bill Walton and Steve Jones, because anytime Bill Walton said something stupid, Steve Jones is like,
get on him.
Hey, you better get on him, Steve. Get on his ass.
Yeah, I love Steve Snapper Jones, man. You know what I'm saying?
R.I.P. to the snap, man.
When did he pass away?
I think he passed
a couple years ago.
Yeah, a couple years ago, yeah.
Oh, shit. I didn't even know that, man. Rest in peace to Steve Snapper Jones, man.
Yeah. See, LB, that goes to what I'm saying. Like, think about it. Like, you had Marv Albert, you had Bob Costas, you had, Peter Vesey, you had guys that played all over the spectrum that was journalistically, you know what I'm saying? But they was objective for the most part. Peter Vesey is a Nick Homer, but at the same time, he would give Jordan his credit, even though him and Jordan didn't even like each other. You feel what I'm saying? Like today, you can't have that. Today, you look at the media, you got people like Rachel Nichols, who don't even, she's not even involved in sports outside of having a job at ESPN. She was a political analyst or some shit before. You feel me?
Well, she went to ESPN at one point, but she didn't do basketball. She did. She was just the reporter, and then she went to CNN, and then she came back from CNN, and all of a sudden now she has a vote for like Hall of Fame and Defensive Player of the Year.
That's my whole point. You know what I'm saying? Like Marv Albert, Bob Costas, all these guys I named before, even the other journalists I didn't name. You know what I'm saying? From back in those days. They had the votes back then. You feel me? And those are guys you like, well, damn, if they say somebody's a Hall of Famer, most times than not, everybody else would agree that, yeah, this person's a Hall of Famer anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Most of those guys, too, you know what I'm saying? Like, I agree with you. Like, you ever had the feeling back then that, like, adults were in charge? Like, most of those guys, like the analysts, they were career journalists or career sports writers. They had seen generations of players, so they could give you accurate historical assessment of all these players, and you don't get that now. You got people who only, you know, they don't really know the history of the sport, whatever sport it is, and you get a feeling like they're speaking from a script or they're speaking from a position of bias, and a lot of people don't recognize that. So it's like they take whatever these people are saying and they just, you know, take it for fact, when in reality it's either just their opinion or part of a bigger agenda.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that makes everything skewed. You know what I'm saying? Like, what I'm saying is this: we arguing like about guys that's debatable, like Sean Kemp being in the Hall of Fame. Just think about 10, 15 years from now, some of the guys that these guys gonna think is walk-in guys that we gonna look at and say, well, damn, what did he do? You know what I'm saying? They're going to be first ballot dudes going in that's going to be like, man, this dude wasn't better than Sean Kemp.
Exactly.
That's my biggest.
That's my point, yeah.
They'll be biased towards this person, no matter what they failed at, no matter what they didn't do, no matter what, you know what I mean? No matter how short they prime was, you know what I'm saying? They ain't going to care about none of that shit. They're going to throw them boys in there because they was popular.
Like, I'm hearing some people say Nikola Jokic is the best passing center of all time.
What?
My God.
I've heard people say that.
Here we go again.
I'm not lying. I've heard some people say that.
Man, no.
I'm not surprised by that. I'm not.
Well, you know, we've had Bill Walton.
No.
We've had, you know, Arvydas Sabonis.
Yeah. We have,
you know what I'm saying? Vlade Divac, Wes Unseld, but they just saying, well, you know, underrated. But they just say Nikola Jokic is the best passing center ever.
No.
Hey, we have Vlade Divac too.
Yeah,
Vlade Divac, man, he had some highlight reels.
And you know what though? You know why they say that though, too, Raw? And y'all think about this, what I'm about to say. When you look at the NBA today, right? Due to the fact that they got it all wide out, everybody spread out, right? When the ball goes to the post, Jokic is one of the few centers in today's game that can actually pass. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they calling him one of the greatest centers of the game today. Because the rest of look at the other centers. You know what I mean? You got 3 or 4 centers that's good in the NBA, and after that, you got like 26 guys who are basically just tall with either athleticism or they over 250 pounds. They don't really have a skill that they rely on every night, except for tip in dunks. You know, tip in and dunks, you know what I'm saying? Pick and roll dunks, rebound, tip ins, and getting some boards. And guess what? Most of the centers in the NBA don't even average 10 rebounds a game or even close to it. A lot of these guys today, because of the way the game is all spread out, power forwards too. Power forwards max, most of them average like 6-7 rebounds. You know what I mean? And then you got centers who average like 7 rebounds, who's 7'1", 258 pounds. Like, come on, bro. That shit is. That's why I'm like. That's why I be looking at it like if you put a guy like Chris Gatlin in today's game, he's gonna have better numbers than he had then, because of the fact that he's going to get the boards because he knows how to get rebounds at a high level, even though he's undersized compared to these guys. You put a guy like Sean Kemp in today's game. We got Zion. Zion's a perfect example of what Sean Kemp could do. You know what I'm saying? But Sean Kemp could do even more than that coming in. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have to just get it off the cut all the time. You know what I mean? You can give Sean Kemp the ball, he'll do a crazy looking, you know what I'm saying, crazy looking spin move on you and then dunk on you. You know what I mean? From the mid post or some shit. But my whole point is this: like when you look at today's game, they're gonna try to big up these guys because they have less super talented guys than other generations. If you look at most positions, you don't have 5 guys from each position you could say are legit stars to superstar level players. You could say that about the small forward position, you got a lot. In the point guard position, you got a lot. But they got to throw people like Jason Tatum as a power forward, even though we all know he's a small forward, because they don't have enough power forwards that are really good. You know what I mean?
Or they're stretching them out because they're trying to play that small ball.
I'm gonna tell you what else too. You know why they gotta do that too?
Small ball lineup.
LB, you know why they gotta do that too? Because they gotta take guys like Rondé Hollis Jefferson, who came in the league as like a shooting guard, small forward, and they realized, damn, you really don't have the skills of the average NBA small forward or shooting guard. So they had to move them up to power forward because you can be less skilled at that size because you're quicker. You know what I mean? So they feel he can be a better defender. They do that with look at a lot of these players. That's what happened to Draymond Green. When Draymond Green was with Mark Jackson, he was playing small forward, but he doesn't have the requisite skills of a small forward. You know what I mean? He doesn't have the ball handling skills compared to the average small forward.
Thank you.
Doesn't have the scoring abilities compared to the average small forward. So they had to move him to make him viable on the court. They had to move him to a higher position, the power forward, where you don't have to use the small forward skill set. All you got to do is really rebound, be able to score around the basket, and pass the ball, but you're passing it to 2 of the greatest players in the game. So you're really not going to have a hard time getting assists and really operating in the offense. Because he does have some basketball IQ. So as long as it's functional.
God damn it, boy. Hey. And then when we tell clowns like Lamont Lane that, you know what I'm saying? You know what? Hey, thank you, Asar. Because I know me, Too Raw, Abel Mahar, and Ticket, I know we all been saying this shit.
James, everybody been saying that shit, man.
Everybody and their daddy was saying this shit, man. But no, you got these contrarians coming, this motherfucker talking about, yeah, man, Draymond Green, man, he's a hell of a player, man. He's a Hall of Famer. He got all these accolades. The fuck out of here.
That's why I always argue the point when people say that the players of the day are bigger, stronger, and faster.
They're not.
I say all the time, think about it. Earl Manigault played back in the 80s in the streets. That nigga could touch the top of the backboard. Plenty of people have accounted to this. Even NBA legends have talked about this man. You know what I'm saying? Doing this, right? He wasn't good enough for whatever. Well, he had his own, personal issues. You know what I'm saying? But even he couldn't really legit make it to the NBA for whatever reason. So he was more athletic than half the niggas that play today in the NBA. You feel what I'm saying? Like, if we look at niggas from the NBA back in the day, you can't name me a bunch of guys that had to change position because they weren't skilled enough at that position. You can't name me a dude who was an average player who was a small forward, powerful because he just wasn't good enough at small forward.
Shout out to Luciano the Don in the chat room. And,
Hey,
I see you when you like to know. Hey, but get back to this thing, right? Oh, I want to say one more thing before we get back. So, hey, you I don't know if you know this, Abel and Too Raw, but Steve Snapper Jones and Bill Walton were teammates, right, in Portland?
Oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that. That's why they were able to work together pretty well. Because they were able to, bounce off of each other, even though Bill Walton can just be irresistible to, listen to. But to be honest with you, they were actually my favorite trio of the broadcasting booth, and they actually made the games much more exciting and much more entertaining because you listen to them talk to each other, and it's like, man, it's like a comedy show, especially the
right. Bill Walton would say something like, Eldon Campbell I think he arguably is the second best center league some ways. Oh, stop it, Bill! Just stop it.
or my favorite one is to be like, hey, I think that Chris Webber's got to do a lot more because he's doing too much of the post up. And then Stafford's like, wait a minute, the guy's averaging 25 points per game, and you're telling me he's got to do a lot more?
Hey, Tom Gugliotta, I thought he correct me if I'm wrong. He played his college ball at North Carolina State, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure, man. You know what I'm saying? But another player that we talked about in the 90s and what we hadn't talked about was Antoine Walker. Now, if you look at Antoine Walker now, first things first, this motherfucker look like he a biscuit away from dying. But
all right, he ain't got no neck no more.
I don't know. For some reason, I consider him more of a 2000s guy.
Me too.
I mean, he did play a little bit in the 90s.
22.4 points and 10.
I got a name for y'all. Ronald Cycle.
Cycling was nice.
Right.
Yeah, he was really nice at Syracuse. Matter of fact, him and Derek Comer were teammates.
I think he still holds the Miami Heat record for most rebounds in the game too.
Yeah, he do.
I think it's 34.
He do.
Man, them dudes had more overall because Ronnie Cycli today could play. That's what I mean. Like,
right.
It's a lot of these dudes. If we took like guys like I'm gonna name some guys that were top 10 picks in the last decade. We take not Joel Embiid, Nerlens Noel, right, and put him in the NBA in the 90s. Nerlens Noel wouldn't even be in the NBA in the 90s, except for if he was on somebody's bench, right? If you take Jahlil Okafor, you know what I'm saying? If you take
he wouldn't be in the NBA now.
That's what I'm saying. You throw some names out there. Throw some names out there, bro. It's so many guys like Hassan Whiteside, for example. He would be a guy that comes off your bench back in the 80s and 90s. If he started, he would get you rebounds, and he'd probably get you a little low double like he does now. But he wouldn't be like a guy that nobody's looking like, hey man, he could change the team. Like for Portland, he's a big piece.
Right. I know what you said. He'd be more in the light of a Dale Davis.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and Dale's like the lower tier. I know what you're saying. Yeah. It shows you how glaringly weak the power forward position and the center positions are now.
Hey, but one traditional center that can probably play in the 80s and 90s, Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, because his defensive ability and his size.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you something though. Like the guys like we talking about, Ronnie Cycli, all the other guys like that. Ronnie Cycli in that season I looked up was averaging 19 and 7. You know what I'm saying? So him not being super athletic, that means he had to have skills. He had to be able to face up, make moves on guys, use his size. Like you have to be able to do that in that era to be one of those guys. Like if we look at the centers from back then, bro, all these centers is averaging like the Alonzo Mourning, Shaq. You know what I'm saying? All these guys is averaging 25 and up, 20 to 25 and up, and 10 to 12 rebounds a game. You know what I'm saying? That can't just come off of them being bigger or stronger than somebody because you're playing against better defense. You're playing against team defenses too most nights. They're keying in on you in the post with a strategy to slow you down, and you're still getting monster numbers on them because you have moves, you have abilities, you know how to get in position. Like Alonzo Mourning being undersized at center, you know what I mean? He was still able to dominate defensively and get boards and put up buckets, you know what I'm saying?
And still get dunked on.
Yeah, he got dunked on here and there, but come on, man, we done seen him. He got dunked on by great players, though. He don't get dunked on by.
I was just trolling when I said
that. I know. I'm just saying, like, those dudes was going against each other also. So when you go against each other, you got to pull something out your ass, bro, or you're going to get dominated.
Yeah.
And when you're a tenacious shot blocker, a prolific shot blocker, you're going to get dunked on.
Yeah, that's just kind of territory.
Bill Russell got dunked on.
Yep, that's true. Yep. Hey, but hey, though, I gotta get going though, too, guys. But I've really been loving this chat though, man. But I'll be back soon though, guys. Okay.
Hey, man, appreciate you having.
All right, salute, Abel, baby.
You welcome anytime, homie.
Yeah, for sure. And don't miss my show, Basketball Conversations, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Central Time. If you guys want to come on in and chop it up for debate night, just hit me up. I'll make it happen.
All right, hey, make sure we get him over 1,000 subs, man. You know what I'm saying? He's putting in good work. Make sure you go subscribe to podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. I'll see y'all later.
All right, salute. Hey, speaking of which, another guy who played in the 90s, which his career was so, when you looked at his play, you figure, oh my God, man, this dude's gonna be a Hall of Famer, man, at some point. But injuries really derailed his career, and that's Antonio McDyess.
Yeah, man. Antonio McDyess was a beast, dog. It's just like I was saying before, bro. Like when I look at that era and I look at those guys and how their careers panned out, even the Pennies and the Grant Hills, I gotta account for the fact that the sports medicine was nowhere near what it is today. You know what I'm saying? And had half of what we have today, it's no question that they would be able to have long careers, at playing at high levels. You know what I'm saying? Other than if they had personal issues or some other shit happened to them or they couldn't bounce back, right? Because even in bouncing back, like if you played in the 90s as Antonio McDyess and you had a season where you was averaging 24-8, then you had an injury season, right? You come back and you averaging 14-5 in the mid 90s when normally, guys don't even come back from those type of injuries, and you're still putting up decent numbers against NBA level competition. Damn, if I think about it like this, if you had 20/20 medicine back then, sports medicine back then, nigga, you would be averaging close to your averages again. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, for the circumstances, they still put up great numbers. Like, I could see if he came back and he was averaging 6, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't doing that till later on in his career. He still was giving you like 14, 12, you know what I'm saying? And this is post injuries, and this is taking away a big part of his game, you know what I'm saying? So I agree with you, man. If not for injuries, man, he'd have been one of them dudes we talking about. Like, is he a Hall of Famer? You know what I'm saying? Is he borderline, or he would have been a walk-in? You know what I'm saying? We don't know because of what happened. Same thing with Derrick Rose, for example. If Derrick Rose had those same injuries in the last 2 or 3 years instead of 10 years ago, 7 years ago, it'd have been a different outcome. You know what I mean? Right. Kevin Durant, like I was saying with Kevin Durant and Kobe, it's the same thing. If Kobe was playing in his 17th season this year and had that Achilles injury, he could sit out a season, had a medicine of today, take care of him, and he'd be able to come back. Just like we see Kevin Durant coming back, he's damn near 100%. We don't know if he's going to play 100% of what he was before, but even if he's 90%, 80%, that's more than what Kobe was able to come back with. You feel what I'm saying? Kobe was about 60% of himself and still cooking. You know what I mean? Still able to cook on nights.
Exactly.
So,
James, hey James, what you think about Antonio McDyess?
Oh, that's my boy right there, man. I brought him up on a couple of shows back when we was talking about the power forwards back in the gap. I just think he was one of the most underrated power forwards because of the teams he played with. Even in Denver, you still had Mutombo in his prime. You had Chris Jackson. You had Robert Pant. You had a lot of pieces on that Denver team. Then when you come over here to Detroit, you still had Chauncey Billups. You had Rasheed Wallace. You had Ben Wise. You had Tayshaun Prince. And you had Rip Hamilton. So he always was put in a good situation where he ain't had to do too much, but just carry a weight when it's asked of you. And that's what he did. That's all I can ask of a role player. That's what I mean. When they call your number, man, just deliver when the ball swing your way and you open for the open shot. Work on your game. That's what he did. And people don't understand before he had that major injury, like Assault said, he was putting up dominant numbers and he wasn't really the vocal point. He just was doing what he do. Loved the game of basketball, playing his role. So I love McDyess in the roles that he accepted to play, how he gelled with the team when he went there. And his numbers speak for itself. If it weren't for that injury, he would have sustained solid numbers throughout his career. That's how I feel about that.
And shout out to Jacob Jennings for his contribution to the channel. He said for awesome content as usual. Hey man, I really do appreciate the contribution through the Cash App, homie. Salute. And oh yeah, we ain't sleeping on Tom Chambers, Darrell Jones, man. You know what I'm saying? You know how much, man. Look, to me, Tom Chambers should be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like Tom. Tom was a big piece of that Phoenix team. I remember when that basketball first came out on Sega Genesis. That's all people was playing with. Cause Tom Chambers was jumping from the free throw line on niggas.
Yeah, real.
Oh, that game was just too unreal. Then he hanging in the air too with it.
See, a lot
Shout
of that
to
goes to them boys being able to be consistent too, and making their teams relevant. You know what I'm saying? Tom Chambers made them boys relevant.
Yeah, that's facts.
shout out to LeBron James's side hoe Myron Jones in the chat, and shout out to the underrated darkness.
Tell him I smell that jock strap from here. I know he was in this bitch somewhere. That nigga Amos got a lining like LeBron. That nigga going on out this year, boy. It's our chip. Yeah, we had some decent power forwards in our time, bro. We just don't get enough credit because they looking at the people today. Because like I saw said, if you play small forward, but you can't dribble or shoot, you just a scrappy player. Well, let's put you down there with people that can't guard you. That's not as fast as you. So it's gonna always look like Draymond got the advantage over certain people when it's really not the case.
Like I'm gonna give you a perfect example right now. I'm looking at this season's stats, right? For the season. Now, I think we all can agree that Jason Tatum and Brandon Ingram are small forwards, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, they got them listed at power forward just because they gotta bulk the numbers up. This is what I'm trying to show y'all. I'm gonna give y'all the top 5 power forwards. All these niggas: Anthony Davis, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Pascal, Jason Tatum, and John Collins. Now take out Jason Tatum and Brandon Ingram, right? You got John Collins, Pascal, Zion, Anthony Davis, and Giannis. You got a rookie, right? You got John Collins, who really ain't super skilled. You know what I'm saying? He's more of an athletic player, right? He gets rebounds. He's playing with Trey Young, who's a great passer, so he can get him touches. You know what I'm saying? And you got Giannis and Anthony Davis.
And you know,
Pascal's good too, though. Pascal deserves to be in the list too. But what I'm saying is,
speaking of John the Baptist, because that's what they call him in Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know, despite everything you said, he still averaged 21 and 10.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The NBA is easier to do that today. You feel what I'm saying? That's my whole point in even mentioning him. Not to say he ain't a good player. You feel me? But what I mean is, like, we just listed, when I listed all them dudes from the 96, 97 season, that one season, we listed way more dudes that was averaging 20 from the power forward position than, you know what I'm saying, than even right now. You feel me? Right now, it's only 6 guys, and 2 of them are goddamn small forwards. Feel me? So I listed like 6 or 7 dudes that was averaging 20 points in 1997 as a power forward alone.
Yeah, 97. There's only like 5 people that average over 20.
That's what I mean. That's my whole point. And then look, after you get to the guys who average 19, that shit drop all the way down to 15. You feel me? If you look at the 90s, it goes from 20s, 19s, 18s, 17s, then 16 and 15 and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't just drop off. Right. If you name some of the players that niggas will call the best power forwards in the game, they ain't doing nothing. Like Blake is at 15.5 right now. You know what I'm saying? You got guys like Aaron Gordon. Oh, go ahead, James.
No, I was talking to somebody. You go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just saying, like, Eric Gordon, 14.4. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have a lot of guys that's out here just, like, killing at power forward.
Nope, you don't.
That is facts, though, because like you said, if you look at our power forwards, starters, second tier, they was all between 25, 20, and a high 18. You can't name at least 5 power forwards today that's an alpha opposed to be like a big key to their team, like compartment, but they don't average that every game. You might get hot 1 or 2 games down the line, but on a consistent basis, they're giving you a high 18 and high 9 or 10 rebounds. You're not getting that today game out these power forwards and small forwards because you got them stretching away from the basket.
That's facts. Because if I tell you about all the guys who at the power forward who's supposed to be these stretch forwards, Most of them don't even average 10 points a game. Except for
That's why
Davis
I'm mad. They
Bertans.
need to get their ass on the block, man. Why you got Embiid shooting 32% from the 3-point line and you ain't telling this nigga nothing like he cold? Like he shooting 50, 40, 90 numbers and stuff. Man, go sit your fucking ugly ass down and get your ass back on the block. I need 25 and 10 from that motherfucker. We got shooters. We don't need you to be out here.
I'm gonna tell you, it's like guys like Embiid only shoot 2 times a game at best. And that's just to keep him happy. You know what I'm saying? The rest of that shit should be him facing up, backing down, and using the inside of the arc. Everything inside the arc should be him. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Once or twice you get a little bored out there, go ahead and tuck one up. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? You've been killing it in the post. Go ahead. You know, green light a few of them shits here and there. But you don't do that shit every night. You don't let them shoot 4 and 5 times.
All right, how many you say he averaged or so?
I'm saying he should average 1 or 2, but I think he averaged like 3 a game. And that's
all
too
right,
much.
Now out them 3, I remember a game this nigga went 0 for 11. Like how Simmons don't score 2 points though. And the coach is sitting over there letting this man do that shit the whole game though.
Couple Joel Embiid.
Yeah, that nigga was 0 for 11 in one of those games. He ain't score a fucking point.
Yeah, I tell you that because I went off of him I did a video going off of him. That was the game against the Toronto Raptors. I watched that game from start to finish when I was at work. And he scored no points in 32 minutes.
That's ridiculous, bro, to be a 7-foot nigga. Get your ass on the block. You would have been got 5 and got you 2 at least.
And see, this is the thing, James. In that game, this dude was out there settling for outside 3-point shots against Marc Gasol.
This nigga like he's Kevin Durant or something. Bitch, go sit your motherfucking.
He averaged 3.7 3-pointers a game. So damn near 4 threes a game.
Thank you. And you shoot 32%.
That's insane for a big man like that.
I don't know what they got going on. Hey, let me ask you this though. Hey, look, this is another thing. I'm gonna show you another reason why their power forward position today it can't compare to the 90s. Ben Simmons came in the league as a small forward, right? They realized he couldn't shoot, but he can pass, right? And he can attack the basket. They moved him to point guard, right? Now they got the nigga playing at power forward because he cannot shoot. He's not willing to shoot. And the only thing he want to do is score around the basket. But the power forward position in the 90s was not just score around the basket. It was be able to face up, hit a little 15-foot, 18-foot jumper. You know what I'm saying? Get by your man. Get rebounds at a high level. You know what I mean? Play defense. Which he can play defense. He can rebound. What I'm saying is he doesn't shoot the ball at all. The nigga's one step away from being the center. You feel what I'm saying? He's one step away from them moving in the center. Like, well, if we'll have a center that basically brings the ball up and attacks the basket. And when he doesn't do that, he can at least score around the basket. He can't shoot, so we gotta use him to the utmost. We don't. There's no point in having him away from the basket if the only thing he can do is the basket. You feel me? So I feel like he's just 1 or 2 steps away from because he already capped out. He's capped out. He's not really gonna get too much better. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing else he can really do. It's gonna make him get to 25 points doing what he does. He's going to be around 18, 17, 20 here and there maybe, but he's not going to be able to consistently get those buckets. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know why they didn't put his ass on the block when he came into the league.
Exactly, bro. Because the league today, they be trying to make the players happy instead of like going with what the system needs for these players to be successful. Like one thing about Michael Jordan I give him credit for is him and the ownership, them niggas was at odds the whole time, his whole career, right? But the ownership did what they needed to do. But from their end, they felt to put shit around him to make him successful. And he took what they gave him, and he did that. He did what he could do to make that shit as successful as he could, right? They didn't just acquiesce to him and just give him everybody he wanted, trade this guy for this guy, and do all this other stuff like today. It's like you come in and they so worried about making Ben Simmons happy, or for example, or any of these players, Joel Embiid, instead of saying, well, look, for us to win, you got to be able to do this, and he got to be able to do that, and y'all got to be able to do this thing together. I don't care what you want to do or what he want to do. this is what we need to do to win. If you do what you want to do and shoot 4 threes a game, and this man don't even shoot a damn jumper, nigga, I don't know how y'all think we're gonna beat people because when it matters. You feel what I'm saying? So that's just my take on that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hey, that's how they lost against Toronto last year though. And they had Jimmy Butler. They had niggas that can take over the game, but you got Embiid won't shoot threes all fucking game.
And they didn't want to make, and then they didn't try to make Jimmy Butler happy till it was almost too late. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Whereas Jimmy Butler came there, they should have had a meeting with all three of them and like, look, out of the three of y'all, Jimmy Butler is the guy that's been proven he's more clutch and he's actually able to lead this team. Lead you guys. Jimmy's a more experienced player, and we seen what he been doing with Minnesota, and we seen what he did what they did without him, nothing. And we also seen when he went to Philly, he was cooking. You know what I'm saying? He was doing his thing, but he was trying to get them boys involved. Remember that game? He was telling Embiid to shoot. He was like, "Nah, fuck that, shoot it." Every time Embiid came out the game, he was telling that nigga, "Bro, shoot the ball. Stop trying to pass it." That's what they needed at that time. Like they don't have that kind of, you know, understanding in themselves to really rely on the other person. Like Embiid want to get his numbers, Ben Simmons want to get his numbers. You feel me? Ben Simmons doesn't. Neither of them really realizing like, bro, we got to do other things to really win, and it still won't really affect their numbers in a bad way. But they just don't want to do that shit because they worrying about their brand and not really worrying about winning. You feel what I'm saying? And the team and the coach, Brett Brown, he's just now having the common sense that everybody else knew from the beginning. You can't play a guy who can't shoot at point guard, especially when he's 6'9" and all he does is drive to the basket. You can do it, but you're not going to win like that because at the end of the day, you're going to have to shoot a jumper sometime. You feel what I'm saying? That lane going to get blocked off, walled up at some point. They did it to Giannis. They damn sure could do it to Ben Simmons. You feel what I'm saying? So you have to put that guy on the block and use his playmaking skills from the block or from a area of the court that he can score in quickly. You know what I'm saying? That he doesn't have to worry about hesitating because he can't shoot. You know what I mean?
Right. And we're going to end it on that note right there, man. So I appreciate y'all for coming in tonight. Appreciate the panel. We're going to come back in here a little bit. I got some things I got to take care of. Smash like, subscribe, man. That's your boy. Scream at me. Huh?